Man, let me tell you about the 1954 Chevy Bel Air. This ain't just any old car. This is a piece of American history, a true icon. When this baby rolled off the line, it was a game changer. It represented a new era of style and optimism after the war. People saw these cars and they saw the future. Bright colors, flashy chrome, and that unmistakable Chevy DNA. The Bel Air was the top dog, the fanciest Chevy you could get. It screamed class, it screamed success, and even today these cars turn heads like nothing else on the road. They got that timeless cool, that swagger. It's a legend for a reason, folks. The design of the 54 Bel Air, pure art, I tell you. Those smooth flowing lines, that toothy grille that just grins at you, and the chrome, oh the chrome was everywhere. It was on the bumpers, the side trim, around the windows. It was like jewelry for a car. This was the era when designers weren't afraid to go big. They wanted these cars to make a statement. The two-tone paint jobs were killer too. Think creamy yellows with white tops or deep blues. These cars weren't just transportation, they were expressions of personality. They were rolling sculptures, built to cruise Main Street and look good doing it. That's what made them special. Now, the 1954 model year specifically, that was a sweet spot. Chevy was really hitting its stride. Under the hood, you'd often find the Blue Flame inline-six engine, a solid, dependable motor that got the job done. Maybe not a fire-breathing V8 monster like some later muscle cars, but it had its own charm. It was smooth, reliable, and perfect for the families and aspiring folks who bought these Bel Airs. Chevy was aiming for the heart of America with this car. They wanted to give people style, comfort, and a touch of luxury without breaking the bank. And boy did they deliver. The Bel Air helped make Chevy a household name, a brand people trusted and loved. So why are these 54 Bel Airs still such a big deal? Why do guys like me get all fired up about finding one even if it's a rust bucket? It's simple. Nostalgia, baby. These cars take you back to a different time. A time of sock hops, drive-in movies, and good old American craftsmanship. Owning one today is like owning a piece of that dream. It's a statement. It says you appreciate style, history, and good old Detroit iron. And let's be honest, restoring one of these beauties back to its former glory, that's a challenge, a thrill. And when you're done, you've got something truly special. Something that's more than just a car, it's a rolling masterpiece. Finding this particular 54 Bel Air, that was a story in itself. You know me, I love the hunt. We heard whispers about an old Chevy, sitting forgotten for decades, tucked away in some dusty old barn, probably covered in hay and who knows what else. We had to check it out. Sure enough, there she was. Not exactly shining, mind you, more like a rusty diamond in the rough. But even under all that grime and decay, you could see the soul of a Bel Air. The curves were there. The classic shape. It was a challenge, no doubt about it. But that's what gets my blood pumping. This wasn't just any old junker. This was a legend waiting to be reborn. Let me paint you a picture of this beauty's before state. The paint, what was left of it, was faded and peeling. More rust than shine, that's for sure. We're talking serious corrosion here, folks. The fenders had holes you could stick your fist through. The chrome trim was pitted, bent, or just plain missing in some spots. The glass was cloudy, some of it cracked. It looked like it had fought a few battles with Mother Nature and lost every single one. It was a sad sight, really. This once proud queen of the road was now just a shadow of her former self. But I could see the potential. Oh yeah, the potential was screaming at me. And the inside? Don't even get me started. Open the door and you were hit with that smell. You know the one. Damp, musty, with a hint of mouse motel. The seats were torn to shreds, springs poking out. The headliner was sagging like a tired old tent. The dashboard was cracked, gauges were missing, and who knows what critters had made a home in there over the years. It was a disaster zone. Every surface was covered in dirt and grime. You couldn't pay most folks to sit in there, but for a restoration project, this is where the real work, the real transformation, begins. It was a blank, albeit very messy canvas. So we're looking at this heap of rust and ruin. Some guys would walk away, they'd say it's too far gone, too much work, not enough profit. But not me, not my crew. We saw the bones, we saw the history. We saw what this 1954 Chevy Bel Air be. The vision was clear. Bring it back to its factory original glory. Every nut, every bolt, every stitch. It was gonna be a mountain to climb, a real gutbuster of a project. But the thought of seeing this classic roll out of the shop, looking like it just left the showroom floor in '54, that's the payoff. That's the thrill. Time to get this rusty diamond cleaned up and ready to shine. Alright, so we got this tired old Bel Air back to the shop. First things first, a frame-off restoration. No shortcuts here, people. If you're gonna do it right, especially with a car this far gone, you gotta take it all the way down to the bare bones. That means the body comes off the frame. Everything, every single piece. It's the only way to really see what you're dealing with. To get at all that hidden rust, to repair the chassis properly, and to build it back up stronger and better than ever. It's a massive undertaking, a ton of work. But if you want a show-quality car, a car that's truly restored, this is non-negotiable. Let the teardown commence. The disassembly process is like automotive surgery. You gotta be methodical, you gotta be organized. We started by removing all the exterior trim, the bumpers, the grille. Then came the big stuff: fenders, hood, trunk lid, doors, every piece carefully unbolted. And here's a pro tip: label everything: bags and tags, photos, notes, whatever it takes. Because when it comes time to put this puzzle back together, months or even years down the line, you'll thank yourself. Trust me on this one. It's a slow, painstaking process. Every nut and bolt has a story, and sometimes they don't want to let go after 70 years. But patience and a little persuasion usually do the trick. Then comes the moment of truth: lifting the body off the frame. This is always a big deal. You get the chain hoist ready, make sure everything's disconnected. Fuel lines, brake lines, wiring, steering column. Slowly, carefully, you lift that big old body shell up into the air. And what's left behind? The naked frame. This is where you really see the skeleton of the car, and often it reveals a whole new set of problems. More rust than you expected, maybe some cracks or bends from a hard life. In our case, yeah, the frame had seen better days. It was gonna need some serious love before it was ready to support that beautiful Bel Air body again. Once the body and frame are separated, the real cataloging begins. We lay out all the parts. What's good? What's junk? What can be restored and what needs to be replaced? It's like a giant, greasy, rusty inventory. You're dealing with hundreds, sometimes thousands, of individual components, from the big engine block down to the tiniest little clipper screw. It's a bit overwhelming, not gonna lie, but it's a crucial step. This detailed assessment helps us plan the rest of the build, figure out the budget, and start the hunt for those all-important parts. This ain't no weekend paint job, my friends. This is a full-blown resurrection. Now let's talk about that frame. After decades of neglect, it was looking pretty rough. Rust, and more rust. That's the #1 enemy of any classic car restoration. It eats away at the metal, weakens the structure, and if you don't deal with it properly, it'll just come back to haunt you. So, job 1 was to assess the damage. We poked and prodded, looking for the thinnest spots, the areas that needed serious attention. Some parts were okay, just surface rust. But other sections, especially where moisture tends to collect, were pretty chewed up. This frame needed a total detox before we could even think about putting anything back on it. To get rid of that nasty corrosion, we brought out the big guns. Media blasting is the way to go. We're talking sand, or sometimes other media like walnut shells or soda, blasted at high pressure. This stuff strips away every last bit of rust, old paint, grease, and grime. It gets into all the nooks and crannies that you could never reach by hand. The frame went in looking like a rusty relic, and came out looking like fresh, bare metal, clean as a whistle. Sometimes, for really stubborn parts or delicate pieces, chemical dipping is another option, whatever it takes to get that metal absolutely positively clean. This is hard work, dirty work, but man, it's satisfying to see that clean steel emerge. Once the frame was stripped bare, we could really see the extent of the damage. Some sections were just too thin, too rotted out to save. So, out came the cutting tools. We carefully cut away all the compromised metal. Then, it's time for some expert fabrication. We bent and shaped new steel patches, matching the original contours of the frame. These new pieces were then meticulously welded into place. We're talking strong, clean welds. Not just slapping metal on top of metal, but proper butt welds, ground down smooth. We also checked for any bends or twists in the frame, straightening it on a frame rack if necessary. The goal is to make it stronger and straighter than it ever was from the factory. With all the repairs done and the frame perfectly straight, the final step is protection. You don't want all that hard work to go to waste. So, we hit it with a good quality epoxy primer. This seals the metal and provides a strong base for the top coat, then a few coats of durable chassis black paint. Nothing too fancy, just a tough, resilient finish that will protect the frame from the elements for decades to come. Seeing that freshly painted frame, all clean and strong, it's a beautiful thing. It's the foundation of the entire build. Now we've got something solid to build this dream machine on. The beast has been tamed and the foundation is rock solid, baby. Section 5, the Great Parts Hunt, Sourcing Automotive Treasures. Alright, frames looking good, engines probably in pieces. Now comes one of the biggest headaches and one of the biggest thrills of any classic car restoration, the parts hunt. You can't just walk into your local auto parts store and ask for a fender trim for a '54 Bel Air. It just doesn't work that way, folks. These cars are 70 years old. Finding good original parts can be like searching for pirate treasure. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you spend months, even years, tracking down that one elusive piece. And then there's the debate: original NOS, new old stock parts, good used originals, or modern reproduction parts. For a factory original restoration, we lean towards NOS or excellent original parts whenever possible. So where do you find these automotive gems? Everywhere and anywhere. Swap meets are a gold mine. You wander through aisles and aisles of vendors, hoping to spot that perfect piece hiding under a pile of junk. Online forums and websites dedicated to classic Chevys are another great resource. You can connect with other enthusiasts, guys who might have what you need or know someone who does. Then there are the specialist suppliers, companies that reproduce parts or hoard stashes of original components. It's all about networking, persistence, and a little bit of luck. You gotta kiss a lot of rusty frogs before you find your prince of a part. It's a detective game, and the stakes are high. Let me tell you, some parts for a '54 Bel Air are tougher to find than a politician telling the whole truth. Think about specific pieces of chrome trim, that unique spear on the fender, or the delicate script emblems. These things are often damaged or missing. Interior components can be a nightmare too. Try finding an uncracked original steering wheel, or a complete set of those beautiful Bel Air dashboard knobs. Even small, seemingly insignificant bits can hold up a project for months if you can't find them. And when you do find these rare treasures, be prepared to open your wallet. Good parts ain't cheap, and rare parts, ka-ching! But it's an investment in authenticity. And that's the key word here, authenticity. When you're aiming for a factory original restoration, every detail matters. The right type of screw head, the correct finish on a bracket, the exact material for the upholstery. It all has to be period correct. Using reproduction parts is sometimes necessary, especially for things like rubber seals or certain mechanical components. But for the visible stuff, the stuff that makes a Bel Air, you want to stay as true to the original as humanly possible. This isn't just about building a cool car, it's about preserving a piece of automotive history. It's about honoring the way these cars were built back in the day. That's the respect these classics deserve. Section 6, Heart Transplant, Rebuilding the Mighty Blue Flame 6. Now let's talk about the heart of this Bel Air, the engine. For 1954, that often meant the legendary Blue Flame Inline 6, a tough, reliable motor that powered a whole generation of Chevys. But after sitting dormant for decades, our Blue Flame was looking more like a tired old blue lump. Covered in grease and rust, probably seized up tighter than a drum. We knew it was going to need a full teardown and rebuild. No point in having a gorgeous car if the engine's going to cough and sputter its way down the road, or worse, not run at all. This Bel Air deserved to have its original power plant purring like a kitten again, or maybe roaring like a well-tuned lion. So we pulled that lump of iron out and got it on the engine stand. Time to operate. We started tearing it down, piece by piece. Off came the cylinder head, the intake and exhaust manifolds, the oil pan. Then we dug into the guts, pistons, connecting rods, crankshaft, camshaft. Every single component was carefully removed, inspected, and labeled. We were looking for wear and tear, cracks, corrosion, anything that could spell trouble. And yeah, after all those years, there was plenty to find. The cylinders were likely scored, bearings worn out, seals dried up and cracked. It was a greasy, messy job, but essential to know what we were working with. Once everything was apart, the real work of rebuilding began. The engine block and cylinder head went off to the machine shop. They'd get cleaned, magnafluxed to check for cracks, and then machined back to perfect specs. That means boring the cylinders, decking the block surface, grinding the crankshaft, and a valve job for the head. While that was happening, we were busy sourcing all the new parts. New pistons, rings, bearings, gaskets, seals, oil pump, timing chain, the whole 9 yards. We wanted this engine to be essentially brand new from the inside out. This isn't just about slapping it back together, it's about precision, making sure every tolerance is spot on. Finally, with all the machined parts back and all the new components laid out, it was time for assembly. This is where the magic happens. Carefully, methodically, we started putting the Blue Flame back together. Each part cleaned, lubricated, and torqued to spec. It's like a giant complex puzzle, but way more satisfying when it's done. Once assembled, we gave it a fresh coat of that iconic Chevy engine blue paint. Man, it looked good enough to eat. Then came the moment of truth, bolting it to the test stand for the first fire-up. Hooking up the fuel, the ignition, hitting that starter, and hearing that Blue Flame 6 cough, sputter, and then roar back to life after all those years. Pure music to a gearhead's ears. Yes sir, this heart is beating strong again. Section 7 Interior Glamour stitch by stitch back to factory fresh. Alright, the engine's purring, the frame's solid. What about the inside of this 54 Belair? When we got it, the interior was trashed. An absolute horror show. Remember those torn seats, the sagging headliner, the cracked dash? It all had to go. We stripped it bare, right down to the metal floor pans. This gives us a clean slate to work with. You can't build a palace on a rotten foundation, and you can't have a show-stopping interior if you're just covering up old problems. We wanted this Belair to feel as good on the inside as it looked on the outside. Factory fresh. That was the goal. Nothing less would do for this queen. Sourcing the right materials for a factory-correct interior is a challenge in itself. For a 54 Belair, you're looking for specific patterns, specific colors, specific textures. We're talking period-correct vinyls, fabrics, and headliner material. We spent hours poring over old brochures, swatch books, and consulting with experts to make sure we got it exactly right. The colors had to match the original paint scheme, of course. It's all about authenticity. Luckily, there are some amazing suppliers out there who specialize in reproducing these vintage automotive materials, getting those rolls of fresh, new fabric in the shop, knowing they're going to transform that gutted interior. That's a good feeling. Then comes the actual upholstery work. This is where true craftsmanship shines. It's not just about slapping some new covers on old seats. Oh no. First, the seat frames themselves often need repair. Broken springs, rust, bent metal, all that has to be fixed. Then, new padding is carefully shaped and applied. Finally, those beautiful, period-correct seat covers are meticulously stitched and fitted. It takes a skilled hand and a lot of patience to get those seams straight, those pleats perfect. Same goes for the door panels, the kick panels, the headliner. Every stitch, every tuck, every fold has to be just right. It's an art form, plain and simple. And let's not forget the dashboard, the command center of the car. The original dash was a mess, but we brought it back. All the chrome trim was removed, polished to a mirror shine, or replaced if it was too far gone. The gauges were sent out for restoration, cleaned, calibrated, with fresh new faces. The steering wheel, often cracked and faded, was either painstakingly restored or replaced with a perfect reproduction. Every knob, every switch, every little detail was addressed. When you sit in that driver's seat and look at that gleaming, perfect dashboard, it should transport you right back to 1954. That's the level of detail we're aiming for. Pure class, inside and out, side and... Section 8. Craftsmanship is king the devils in those Belair details. With the interior taking shape and the engine ready to rock, let's talk about the body. After all that rust repair on the shell, it was time for some serious body work. Getting those big beautiful panels on a 54 Belair perfectly straight is no easy feat. We're talking hours and hours of hammer and dolly work, filling and sanding. So much sanding. You sand until your arms feel like they're gonna fall off, and then you sand some more. Every curve, every line has to be flawless. You can't hide bad bodywork under paint, no sir, it'll stick out like a sore thumb. This stage takes patience, skill, and an eye for perfection. This ain't for amateurs, this is where the artists go to work. Once the metalwork is laser straight, it's time for paint preparation. This is just as crucial as the bodywork itself. You start with multiple coats of high-quality primer. Each coat is block-sanded smooth. This process reveals any tiny imperfections, low spots, or high spots that need to be addressed. It's meticulous, painstaking work. But it's the foundation for a killer paint job. You want that final color to lay down like glass, to have that deep, wet look that just screams show quality. Rushing this stage is a recipe for disaster. So, we take our time making sure that surface is absolutely perfect before a single drop of color is sprayed. And then the moment of glory applying that factory original color. For a 54 Belair, you've got some beautiful options. Maybe a classic two-tone like shoreline beige over an India ivory top, or a stunning Bermuda green. Whatever the choice, spraying that color, watching it flow onto those perfect panels, that's a thrill. Multiple coats of color, followed by multiple coats of clear for that incredible shine and depth. Once it's cured, it's time for more sanding, color sanding with ultra-fine paper, and then buffing and polishing until that paint is so slick you can see your reflection from a mile away. Then, carefully, we reinstall all that beautiful re-chromed trim, the spears, the emblems, the window surrounds. That's the bling that makes these Bel Airs pop. But a show car isn't just about looking good, it's gotta perform too. So, while the body and paint were getting all the attention, the team was busy rebuilding or replacing every other system on the car. Brand new wiring harness from front to back. No old brittle wires here. The entire brake system lines, master cylinder, wheel cylinders, shoes, all new, all top quality. You gotta be able to stop this beauty. Suspension components, bushings, shocks, springs, all replaced or rebuilt to ensure a smooth, safe ride. Every nut and bolt, every clip and fastener, checked, double-checked, and triple-checked. It's this attention to detail, this commitment to craftsmanship in every aspect of the build that separates a good restoration from a great one. It has to drive as good as it looks, period. Section 9. Back to glory, the 1954 Bel Air, reborn and roaring. Finally, after all the blood, sweat, and probably a few tears, comes the final assembly. This is where all those perfectly restored pieces, all those shiny new parts, start coming together to form a complete car again. The engine and transmission are carefully lowered back into that beautiful chassis. The freshly painted body is reunited with its frame. Doors are hung, fenders are bolted on, glass is installed. The interior, looking like $1 million, is carefully fitted. Wiring is connected, fluids are added. It's a slow, deliberate process. You don't want to scratch that perfect paint or damage any of those pristine components. Seeing it transform from a collection of parts into a recognizable 1954 Chevy Bel Air, that's a special kind of magic. It's alive. Then comes the moment every car builder lives for, the first test drive. You turn the key, that rebuilt Blue Flame 6 fires right up, settling into a smooth idle. You ease it into gear, and for the first time, this resurrected classic rolls under its own power. The feeling is incredible. The rumble of the engine, the way it handles, the smell of that new interior. It's a sensory overload, in the best possible way. You're not just driving a car, you're piloting a piece of history, a machine that you and your team poured your hearts and souls into. All those late nights, all those busted knuckles, all those challenges overcome, it all melts away in that first glorious drive. Pure joy, baby, pure unadulterated joy. And then you stand back and look at it. The complete transformation. From a rusted-out Hulk forgotten in a barn to this gleaming, showroom-perfect 1954 Chevrolet Bel Air. It's breathtaking. The paint shines, the chrome sparkles, the interior is immaculate. It looks, feels, and even smells like it just rolled off the assembly line 70 years ago. Comparing the before pictures to what stands before you now, it's hard to believe it's the same car. This isn't just a restoration, it's a resurrection. A testament to dedication, craftsmanship, and a deep love for these classic American machines. We didn't just meet expectations, we knocked it out of the park. We absolutely nailed it. Bringing a classic like this 54 Bel Air back to its factory original condition is more than just a job. It's about preserving automotive heritage. It's about saving a piece of Americana from being lost to time and rust. And the joy of sharing that reborn beauty with the world, seeing people's faces light up when they see it, that's priceless. This Bel Air isn't just a car anymore. It's a time machine, a rolling work of art. And yeah, let's be honest, a car restored to this level, it's gonna fetch a pretty penny. But the real reward is knowing you saved a legend and gave it a new lease on life. Now that's what I call fast and loud. Get you some of that.